Welcome to 3 Minutes with Ark Two. I am Bruce Beach, a radiological scientific officer, and this is our nuclear survival complex. In another video, I explain about constructing shelter entrances. And in this video, I want to explain how to construct an expedient shelter. We classify shelters into 3 categories. First, permanent shelters, usually built of concrete or in deep rock. Secondly, temporary shelters, made of materials that may only last a couple of years. And thirdly, expedient shelters, which are created at the time of need and will exist only for the current emergency. Because not everyone, in fact very few in North America, will have access to a permanent shelter. Since the government destroyed public shelters, I wish for people to better understand the concept of expedient shelter construction. There are no hard and fast rules about expedient shelter construction, other than probably one wants to do it as fast as they can and create as much density or distance as they can. One must simply understand the 3 principles of radiation reduction. Radiation is reduced by time, distance, mass. Time is a factor because radiation decays. If the event happened 2 weeks ago, then don't worry about it, because it has already affected you and gone away, similar to the way the snow melts. Distance is a factor because if it is in the next state, or even for sure a mile from you, and isn't going to blow your way, then you're going to be okay. People tell me they will just jump in their airplane and fly away. Winds are unpredictable. It may not be the ground winds that are the problem, but the direction of winds much higher up that are blowing in opposite directions and dropping the fallout on you. Actually, we can use distance in other ways. If you can get at least 7 stories up into a high-rise building, and there are at least still 7 more stories above you, and there are no balconies or ledges to hold the fallout, then you have pretty good protection when you are back from the outside walls. The most common way, however, is for there to be mass between yourself and the fallout radiation.
Well, what we have here, you can see the construction of this shelter very clearly how it's done, because right here you can see one of the buses, and above the bus you can see how we have concrete up above the bus here for a couple of feet. Usually that's where it ends, there's just dirt over it. But this particular place we've made for a tall spot to be able to lift things up, so we blocked it off with steel and put steel plate overhead so we can put a winch in here to lift tall items in here in this area. But nevertheless, this shows how the whole shelter is constructed with concrete over the top, down the sides of the bus, and then over the top of the concrete there's dirt. This is the shallow end of the shelter where we have only 5 feet of earth on top of the 2 feet of concrete. At the deep end of the shelter we have 14 feet of earth over the top of the concrete.
Mass or density is a poorly understood concept by many people. It really all comes down to just being weight. Some people think there is some magic in lead, but there is none. It is just that lead is a very heavy material. Any material will do. The desired weight for any area needs to be equivalent to what the weight would be of 6 inches of lead covering that area. That means 2 feet of concrete will do just as well. Or 3 feet of earth, which is what we most usually use because it is the cheapest and most available. However, you could just as well use feathers if you could pile them high enough. Say maybe 20 feet would do. Or anything else. Big crates in a warehouse, big rolls of paper from a printing press. I've often thought of parking cars in one of those big beehives and using a loader to cover them with sand. Whatever, you have to be creative. Common ideas are things like subways, underground parking garages, culverts that won't be flooded, and piling up stacks of books and boxes in one's basement and on the floors overhead.
Thank you for watching. And please remember that Ark 2 is not just about your survival. It's about service to humanity and preparing to reconstruct society.
It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world.